What's up, witches? My name is Taylor, and I'm the Tempest Witch here on YouTube. And today we're going to talk about Ox-Eye Daisies. So, continuing on our plant blindness series, I decided that I was going to start talking about daisies, because as you do when you're a dog parent, we were taking Thor for a walk the other night, and there's a ditch just around the corner from our house that is just covered in daisies. And one of the cool things that I found out in my research is that Ox-Eye Daisies specifically have a creeping root system. So once they establish themselves in the ground during because if you cut them, like say here, and you leave all of the rest of the stem and the roots in the ground, they'll just come back again. And if you're somebody who really doesn't like these, because technically they are a weed, hacking them with your lawnmower or your weed whacker isn't really gonna do anything, and they're just gonna come back stronger like a hydra. So if you really care that much to rip them out the ground, pull them up by the roots. I think they're pretty. I don't mind them, but that's just me. So I guess let's start from the top. These are Ox-Eye Daisies. There's also Shasta Daisies, which are a little bit bigger. Shasta Daisies are a little bit shorter. Ox-Eye Daisies get to be about 2 feet tall out the ground. And the difference between the two is, like I said, Ox-Eye Daisies have a creeping root system, whereas Shasta Daisies have a root ball, which is just a large bundle of roots that then grow multiple flowers out of it. And they're not nearly as invasive. Ox-Eye Daisies are super aggressive and aren't native to the area and will just kind of take root wherever they can. So the open fields, abandoned buildings, sides of ditches, you name it, they're gonna be there. They're really only in places that have reasonably harsh winters because they need that winter freeze in order to come back stronger again in spring. So I don't really think you'd find these more like medium to down south, but up here, they're everywhere. Ox-Eye Daisies, or Leucanthemum vulgare, which means common white flower, is their scientific name. They used to have a much longer scientific name that just meant white flower, yellow flower, but scientists kind of looked at it and went, that's dumb, change it. So now it just means common white flower, which I think is also too vague, but I digress. Daisies are in the chamomile family. There's actually a chamomile variety that is called scentless chamomile that looks a lot like daisies. The way you can tell the difference is Ox-Eye Daisies have that creeping root system, whereas the scentless chamomile does not. But because they're so closely related, they have similar properties. So that's pretty cool. It's very soothing, it's very relaxing, and can be used for a variety of things that you can also with chamomile, which I think is pretty neat. Ox-Eye Daisies are edible. They're said to be more palatable in earlier spring, early summer, anywhere from like May to June. They're said to be very bitter once they become more mature later in summer. So just keep that in mind, that if you're thinking about eating these, that it's probably not going to be very enjoyable to eat them, but you can. Like I said, it's a close cousin to chamomile, so it's very relaxing. It's said to be good for soothing the bronchioles for a lot of cultures, which I'll get into in a second. They've used it for like bruise treatment or cuts and scrapes treatments, so you can make it into a poultice, which is just taking it with a mortar and pestle and just grinding it up into pretty much a salve and then just taking that and putting it on something topically to help soothe the irritation and keep it from becoming infected, because it's also an astringent, which is pretty cool. It's said to be, in addition to being a relaxant for like the bronchioles, it's also good as a diuretic and an astringent, and can be used for stomach ulcers and bloody urine, in addition to being an antispasmodic for colic and general digestive upset. Ox-Eye Daisies have been used in multiple different cultures, both here in America and also over in Europe. They're not originally native here, but as plants do, they kind of just find a way to move. And so we ended up with them here in the northern part of America. But they were used medicinally all across Europe, and here they were used by the Iroquois, Menominee, Mohegan, Quileute, and the Shinnecock Native Americans for all of the medicinal things we were talking about earlier. Internally, you can use the plant as a whole, but a lot of people just stick to the flowers and use that to create a poultice, just because, like I said, the green parts are very bitter. You can eat the leaves, which are these cute little heart-shaped, so you can just add them to salads, like I said, but they're said to be slightly bitter, so you probably just want to stick to the flowers. Ox-Eye Daisies, when taken internally, are said to reduce toxicity by increasing urination and also by inducing sweating. So if you've got a bad fever, or you just having all sorts of things and you want to use it as a tonic, totally fine for that. It's going to help clean everything out and get all of the toxicity out of your body. In addition to stimulating sweating, it also helps with healing night sweats, in case, of course, you're sick, helping heal wounds and jaundice, and is effective at helping treat asthma and nervous conditions. So it's just real soothing, which is pretty cool considering it's so invasive and an undesirable plant. Just as a warning, I added this to my notes just because it's not all sunshine and daisies. The Ox-Eye Daisy can be a skin irritant for some. It can be used externally as lotion to treat ulcers, bruises, cuts, but it can also be very irritating. So if you're going to be using this, test it on your skin first, see if you have any kind of adverse reaction, and then go forward based on if you do or not. You're gonna make a poultice out of this, mash it up, put it into a cloth and hold it over your eye, but you don't wanna be doing that if you're allergic to it. Talk to your doctor if you're thinking about using it. That's all of that. What's cool is sometimes it's really hard for me to find information on certain plants in my stack of books, but I actually found a good amount in my book set, so I figured I would share that all with you. All right, let's start with Scott. So daisies. Oh, they put in the long one. This is what the white flower, yellow flower scientific name is. Chrysanthemum leucanthemum. Really? It's called the American daisy, Bellis perennius, and the European daisy. Folk names include bruisewort, eyes, field daisies. The Welsh version is in Welsh it's just called Eye of the Day. I'm not even gonna pretend to try and pronounce Welsh. Their language is so cool and unique, and I have no idea what they're talking about. Maldenwort and moon daisy. The gender is feminine, the planet is Venus, the element is water. Deities, Freya, Artemis, and Thor, which is pretty cool. Powers are lust and love, and the magical uses is, it is said that whoever picks the first daisy of the season will possess the spirit of coquetry. I don't know what that word is. We're gonna skip it. Magical uses include sleep with a daisy root beneath your pillow and an absent lover may return to you. And also warn, the daisy brings love. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Thanks, Scott. Next, into Nature's Garden, a guide for edible wild plants. The Ox-Eye Daisy. So you have the Chrysanthemum leucanthemum, but the one that we know is Leucanthemum vulgare. It is in the sunflower family, or the chamomile family. Lots of flowers are related that you wouldn't think are. So something to note is that although the Ox-Eye Daisy is not a North American native, it is spread like a weed across all of the continent. This daisy is dependent on disturbance, thriving on the activities of humans. It is generally found near buildings, in yards, along roadsides, and as a weed in the field and pastures. Daisies do best in soil that is well watered but well drained. They compete most vigorously where the soil is exposed or impoverished and has little organic matter. So that's why they're best in ditches, because you're having water constantly flow through, but they're not standing in water. If you have any land like that near you, you're probably going to find these kinds of daisies. Let's get into the harvest and preparation. The tender young stems, flower buds, and leaves can all be eaten, but the leaves are by far the most popular. Most commonly, Ox-Eye daisy greens are eaten raw as a trail nibble. You're walking along the way, you go, ooh, a snack! And then you bite some. They are also excellent in salads, sandwiches, and tacos. The author, who is Samuel Thayer, says that he finds them refreshing and delectable raw, but he's not a fan of them cooked. They have a sweet flavor that's hard to describe. Some people are reminded of carrot, mint, or tarragon, otherwise sage or arugula, and sometimes people even mention pepper. So it kind of depends on what you think about when you're eating them, but they have a very distinct flavor apparently. The largest and most succulent leaves grow in the basal rosette, not the ones that are up top, but at the very base of the flowers. All right, so that's Samuel Thayer. Then we have a pocket guide to herbs. Daisy, native to Europe and West Asia. The daisy is very common in grassland species, found in lawns and fields. It has been regarded as affectionate for its appealing period. Its generic name, Bellis, means pretty. The common name derives from the Old English day's eye, referring to both the flower's appearance and the fact that it opens during daylight hours. Its traditional medicine, it was considered a wound herb used to treat fresh wounds. Its other common name includes bruisewort, referring to its use to relieve aches and bruises. Daisies offer relief from the pain of gout while applied as a poultice to the joints. In the kitchen, its young leaves, flowers, and buds and petals may be added to salads. So, mainly it was culinary, but medicinally it's also good, as we said, for bruises, cuts, scrapes, as poultices. And finally, Herbal Medicine by Buckman. I know it was something short and sweet in here because they don't write much. Daisy. A lovely and common daisy was once called bruisewort to reduce swelling, bruise the leaves and flowers, and add them to a wheat germ oil or make them into a tea. Clean, simple, to the point. So overall, they're pretty much just a member of the chamomile family that you can use as a poultice topically. That seems to be the most effective way to use it. I didn't really see any interactions when I was doing my research online, just to see if there's anything like, do not take this if you're taking this kind of medication. I didn't see much of that, but of course, if you're allergic to chamomile or anything in the chamomile family, I wouldn't recommend using this. And as always, talk to your doctor if you're considering using medicinal plants as medicine, just because you never know if there's a weird interaction that you might not know about and they haven't discussed openly on the internet. So, always talk to your doctor, but either way, Alright guys, I hope you found this video enjoyable. I hope you learned a lot about daisies, especially Ox-Eye daisies, and I hope you go out and you find some for yourselves, just because they're everywhere. Go look in some ditches, go look at the edge of fields, I'm sure you can find some, and either just bring them home to offer to your deities, or make them into a poultice and put it on your eye. Either way, have some fun, go outside, it's finally summer, the sun is out. Live your best life. And until next time, Skål, my friends.